Hey everybody, it's Celeste. It is late July. We are almost in August, and thankfully we had a little bit of a break in the hot weather that we were having. I thought in this video I'll just walk you through, give you a little tour of the front yard, where everything is at right now. And I redid some little areas, so I'll show you that because it was a complete rip and replace. And then also some areas that I need to continue working on, but I thought it'd be a little fun to just kind of walk through while it's not so super hot, and just talk about some of the stuff that I've done. I did over the weekend. I'm sorry for being gone for a little bit. I actually got COVID, which, you know, of course I'm thinking in my head, oh my gosh, is that still a thing? It's a thing. So anyway, just gonna walk you through really quick, and then at the end of the video you'll see the little surprise, which is the new area. It'll give you an idea when you first start planting, you know, how sparse it looks basically. And then over time I figure we'll just kind of watch and we'll see how this gets into a better state. Alright, sorry about that. Had a delivery and needed to help the guy out. So here's some of my planters. They're still going strong. Thankfully won't need to do anything with those guys. My little dog toy. And as you can see, in one of my other videos I actually walked through this area of the garden as I redid it. And you can see, because it gets quite a bit of shade, thankfully right now it's sitting inside some shade, you can see that a lot of the Aeoniums are not completely covered up, and so it's kind of weird. But if you have some of your areas of your garden that get a little bit of shade or kind of protection, and they don't get blasted by the midday sun, then you will actually be able to extend some of your growing season for your Aeoniums. You can see some others are a little more temperature sensitive, so this is one of them. I've shown this a couple times. Usually have to come out and, you know, clean off the detritus like this. Otherwise you're going to end up with a bunch of mealybug, because they like to hide out in that. So you definitely want to make sure with these type of Aeoniums that you're pulling that apart. It's closed up. It doesn't like all of the heat, but it does have babies, which is great. That's the little babies off to the side there. And once it opens up, it'll get huge and big around like this, but that will require, you know, cooler weather. I see them usually open up when it's like consistently in the 70s, maybe 60s, and definitely when it dips, you know, pretty low at night, down to the, you know, low 50s, maybe 40s. That's when I start seeing the Aeoniums, some of these more temperature sensitive Aeoniums open up. But other ones like Fred Ives here, they love the sun, so these guys are going crazy, and they're sending off these little side shoots. I love these because they get this lavender color on them. Again, they're called Fred Ives. Started out with 1 or 2 cuttings. They tend to be pretty expensive. 1 or 2 of those cuttings, and then thankfully, you know, you can just keep snapping it off and resetting and having more and more and more and more as a result, so they're pretty easy to propagate. This is just your standard aloe vera, and this one's called Silver Spoons. Been trying to get this to grow for forever, so I'm super excited about that. I have another one which is similar to that, which is called Copper Spoons, but you know, it just hasn't done as great. It might be the location that I've got it in, so I may need to move that. You can see growing like crazy. Let's stand up a little bit so that I can go down. So you can see, again, this area of the yard tends to get not so much sun, which is great. So this foxtail agave in the back, it gets a little sun. Those little tips right there can get sunburnt. But, you know, the main meristem, which is the center right here, the center, that's called a meristem. And that one right there, it doesn't actually get hit too bad by the sunlight, and so it tends to grow. But it's getting just absolutely beautiful. just the way that it's expanding. Some of my other ones that are a little bit smaller than this have started throwing off baby, so at some point I need to go back there and kind of take a look what's happening there. Here's a pot that's actually getting hit quite a bit by the sun. I probably need to move it. You can tell because look how cupped this is. That's a Blushing Beauty Aeonium, so for it to be cupped like that, that is, it's pretty unhappy. so I'll probably move that one. But again, here you can see some of these other ones, because they aren't getting hit so much by the sunlight, then they're actually not going into a dormant state as much. More just standard aloes. I like these because they're super easy to grow. I'm actually going to move this one. I have a plant out by the street that's getting too big, and so I'm going to take this one and put it out there, and then I am going to plant a Tonganesis here, which is an aloe tree. Should be really, really cool. I think this will be like a perfect spot for it. It will take a while for it to grow, but it can get up to 10 feet, so that'll be kind of pretty. Right here in front of this window. I think it'll be nice. And some more of the Aeoniums. All doing well again because they're in the shade. They don't have any problems. Another one of those aloes. More of the Fred Ives. And here you can see I did a lot of the tapestry. These are all doing just fine. And I have this spurge. If you watch some of my other videos, I have left this, a lot of these dead blooms on here. And the reason why is because that actually helps with protecting these plants, because this corner tends to get hit pretty hard from the sunlight. And here's some of my planter pots. And it's interesting because you can see this one. There's this Echeveria. It's called Echeveria Red. Somebody was really, working hard on that name. But, so you can see that one is actually pretty okay. And then look at this. Not even, what is that, maybe 4 feet over? And this one is just pissed. And it gets hit by a lot more sunlight. So what I might do eventually, so right next to this I have my blue cactus here, and what I may do is I may take that cactus and move it to the other side and then hide this behind it just to give it a little break. I think it's just getting a little fried. Normally I don't have too much of a problem during the summer months, but this summer has just been especially brutal with a lot of the heat waves that we've had, so that's just a huge challenge. But you can see the plant is actually okay though. If you look on the inside right there, perfectly fine. It's closed itself up to protect that center. That center is, obviously where all of the new growth comes out. So all of this stuff that's on the outside that's super burnt like this, that is just gonna, it'll work its way and be gone, and it won't be such a big deal. But like I said, I'll probably give this a little more protection because it's just having a hard time. And man, the spiders are just going crazy right now. Just all over the place with this stuff. This plant needs to be repotted. Don't get nervous. I'm actually just, my knife was just going there because I was working on some other stuff. So I will actually fix this pot. What I mean by that is I need to pull it up and out, add some more soil in there, and bring the level of the pot back up, which is going to be an interesting one when you do that, because you can see this guy is pretty spiky, but very, very beautiful. It's Pilusiceras azurus, if you're looking for the type of cactus that this is. And it's naturally that blue color. Really, really cool. Oh, by the way, this right here, you can see, this was when we had really, really bad frost. And then down here, you can see where it was actually starting to rot because of all of the water that we had. So It's really interesting with these plants because you can almost see like growth history, right? Here's where it got really upset because of the cold snaps that we are having. And then it's doing just fine since then. And growing and growing and growing. I think these things will get like 15 feet, if I remember right, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. And I'm kind of hoping, because it did this, ew, spider eggs. I'm kind of hoping because it did this, like maybe it'll split. I'll end up with two heads. It'd be really, really cool. Here you can see where I started pulling some of the plants out. I used to have a bunch of these really pokey, if you've watched some of my other videos, you've heard me complain about some of the really pokey plants that I had in here. Got rid of those. This Jade is super unhappy now as a result because I pulled its buddy out that it was holding it up. That's what I've noticed with Jades, is they're kind of lazy. So if another plant is, going to prop them up, then they will lean on that plant, and then you pull something out and then they do this like floppy thing. So you can see several of them, even this like baby one down in here is doing the same like, little floppy thing. So don't worry about it, it'll get over it. It's just not happy about it. You can also see some of the places where it broke branches off, and the reason why is because I needed to thin it out. It was so thick. It needed to have more light that goes down to the bottom, and then that allows me to plant plants underneath it. And so this one right here, I'm going to have to do the same too, because it's just turned into a monster. Really, really, really super thick trunk, which you can't even see because it is so big. So I'll go in there and kind of bonsai that out, which is basically when you're doing jades and you want to kind of get that bonsai look. I always start with, I take them from the bottom up, and then I pop off any branches that are on the inside, like basically growing inwards. Just doing those two things, just coming up to a certain height to make it look like a tree, and then also pulling any of the branches that are growing from an inward standpoint. That usually is enough where it will thin it out so that it gets that kind of bonsai look. And then from there you can kind of make more judicious cuts, about what, to kind of form whether you like kind of those like clumping ends with the branches and then, very sparse, or whether you want it to be more like a canopy. It's up to you. But that's what I tend to do. So here you go. Again, more of the Fred Ives. Not quite as colorful over here because they're sitting under an umbrella. You'll notice this is a little shady area, and it's because it gets really hot in this area. And I just redid all of this. So this used to be really, really, really super overgrown. And what I did was I came in yesterday and I started working to clean a lot of this up and just add in some of the cuttings. Very pretty. These yellow ones I think may die. And the reason why is because when they're yellow like that, they can't really actually do anything from a photosynthesis perspective because they don't have any green, they don't have any color, and so it's usually they have to be paired with, something else. Which is their sisters, some of these other sister plants here, so that they can actually get some of those nutrients from the sun. So, we'll see. I also found a couple of cress, red-eyed cress, and they're not happy. If you notice, there's some mealybug on there. So this is what mealybug looks like. And you have this little white in here, and you can see it's making the plant very unhappy. So I will come out here with some insecticidal soap, and I will clean those off. But it's kind of cool because it's got a little crest that's going. There's another one. I noticed, by the way, that mealybug really likes Fred Ives. I don't know what the deal is, but it really likes Fred Ives. There's some more. This guy got a little bit scorched, so we'll see how it does. I'm giving it a little bit of a chance to hide out in the shade, see if it can grow out of that. Looks like it's fine in the center So again, if your plant gets scorched, just look in the middle. It should be okay. And then hopefully it will come out of that now that it's sitting in a more protected location. Added some more of these kind of pretty. This is another Fred Ives crest. Also has mealy bugs, so I'll have to spray that one as well. And some of the others that I put in here, so you can see some of these guys not so happy because of the heat that's been happening. Those guys are really weird too. They kind of do this like wrinkle thing. You see that? Reminds me of like when you've been in the pool too long and your fingers are all wrinkled up. And so here's some more. This is all cuttings. Again, the reason why it's okay, even with the heat, to do cuttings like this is I'm not going to water this for, probably 2 weeks because I'm not going to want to cause any chance of rot or anything like that. The second is because I am able to shade it between the tree and the umbrella, and so that's going to prevent any high heat versus like over here you can see I haven't touched any of this, and that's because you can see it's sitting right in that heat, that kind of midday heat. So I will have to wait to do this for maybe towards like November time frame. That's usually when we kind of get our last heat blast that comes through. So I'm usually okay at that point being able to take this garden bed down. So that's one of the things that's, just kind of weird, is depending on where it's at, depending on, whether you can put an umbrella over it. That's kind of an awkward spot for me to put an umbrella, so I don't tend to do that there. But you can do different parts of your yard at different times. We'll continue along. Oh, you'll notice that I'm adding in some of this quartz rock. So this wasn't here before, so I'm starting to add in more and more of the quartz rock in there. I'll show you another view. A little fountain. So I have some really, really gorgeous quartz rock. So I started layering that in. And you'll see more of that in a minute when I show you some of the new area. This is, again, really unhappy Jade, Aloe ovata. And it's mad because I moved it. It was another one of the plants that was really squished by one of those pokey plants that I just took out. So, and then it was also smack underneath this desert museum tree. And so I pulled it out, put it off to the side, give it more space to grow. And then I put one of my Aeoniums over here. This is one of the Aeoniums that actually gets super, super tall. But for now, it'll be fine. It's actually, even since yesterday, started opening up. So it's amazing. You can see some of these down here. And it's just because it's sitting underneath a tree. So it might come fully out of its dormancy, and if it does that, then it'll start to root. Some more of that quartz rock. And again, this is ruby slippers. Just adding some of those in, some more of those Aeoniums, kind of doing that peekaboo style that I like. Really unhappy Mangave right here. That will have to move eventually because it will get big. But for now, I just wanted to give it a good little place to rest. More of those little, I don't know what the names are. If you guys know what the names are of these guys, but I always call them wrinkle fingers. That's like the bigger version of the one that I just showed you, where it's got the wrinkly ends on it. But you guys can tell me if you know the name. This is my blue whale's tongue, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I had to move it from the back because it was getting really messed up inside of a pot. And it actually scared me a little bit because I took it out of the pot and it was wet at the bottom, which could have caused a lot of root rot. So that's pretty scary. So anyway, it'll do better out here and hopefully give me some babies. It'll be really cool. Here you can see where I took out another one of those really pokey plants. I do not want to mess with all of those Aeoniums back there. And the reason why is because, again, we're in the heat. And this would be just a really bad time, but it's pretty fascinating. If you look, you can see this is why I like Blushing Beauty Aeoniums, because they are such strong growers. I mean, they look like almost like mini trees, right? And you can see that they're not going into dormancy, which is awesome. And that's what will happen with these over here that I put in as cuttings. So because they're sitting again in a shaded environment, you can extend the growing season for these guys. Added more of the quartz rock in, and some more down here. I pulled out some of this Athonicapensis, just down here on the bottom. That was just going everywhere and it was crazy. This is another Jade. It was super overgrown, so I'll show you again. You can see, thinned it out. And all I'm doing is, again, I'm just pulling out anything that is growing in. That's basically it. And then from the bottom, you can see I just pulled it up. So when you want that bonsai look, when you want to be able to plant underneath, that's all you need to do. You can see where I was popping pieces off, right? Anything that I wanted, I just wanted it to go up taller. Some more of the plants I put in, and I will show you the area I haven't touched yet too, just so you can kind of get an idea. But this I replanted. I actually put in a cactus. This one's called Pina Colada, so that's going to be really cool. And you can see it gets a lot of sun, so I think that's going to be nice. This jade I need to thin out, but it's providing a lot of shade right now. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it that way for now. Some of these plants I actually left. Again, it's just too hot. In this section, you can see it's getting hit by sun already. And then here are some of the echeveria towards the back. And again, I don't want to lose those, so that's why I'm not thinning out that jade more. Otherwise, those would fry in the sun. They wouldn't be able to handle it. Put another cactus in. I don't know what the name is for that guy. So we'll see. We'll see as it blooms. And here you can see some of the plants are just not as happy. This is a blue glow that used to actually be over there. So I cut it off, put it there. It's got some babies that it gave me, which is really cool. So I moved this towards the front. Right now it's twisted this way. It will change. It will face more towards the camera as it starts to root and the sun comes in that direction. It'll change its direction. And you can see none of this. I haven't touched any of this stuff. So, and again, I'm not going to touch it because this is the side that gets hit. By the way, that's the back side of that jade we just looked at, so you can see what I mean when I say monster. Definitely needs to be thinned out, but I'm not going to do any of that until it actually gets less hot. And then, again, another one of the foxtail agaves, and that one I actually cut off as well, popped off a bunch of the babies, and then just set it back in so it will root, and you can actually see where I cut it off. That's what that big knife was that you saw earlier. It was with the big tall blue cactus. And then this is what I was talking about with these are not blushing beauties, but these are blushing beauties. So you can see they're handling the sun, and I don't want to pull them out because they're cupping like that. That means they're dormant, so it's a bad idea for me to touch them, even though on the other side where it's shadier, they are not dormant. This side is, and they would struggle to root if I was to pull them out. Plus I haven't totally decided what I want to put in there because I need the height. So, you know, we'll see what I end up doing with all of that. Okay, there's some of the pots I've got. Just handling the sun okay. Added in a rock to kind of give some shade to these guys because they're getting a little fried. Help them out. And this is the area that I just redid. So I kept the foxtail agave, which is this big one. And mainly it was because we were way too lazy to dig that out. That thing was in there. But I had another big, huge pokey plant, which was like right there. I got rid of that. Put in that jade. Again, it's just mad because it's having to stand up on its own. And then added in a bunch of these different types of cactus. So this is going to be really cool. This area, again, it gets really hot. It can get really cold. And I wanted to make sure that I was putting something out here that can handle it. So these little cactus, let's see. I cannot read what that one is, but that one is Arizona Sunset. This is Aloe ramosissimum, and it's actually got multiple heads, as you can see. I will be staking that so that it actually sits more upright in the tilted pot so it won't look so weird. Right now it's kind of sitting to the side. More of Vera cactus. Some of the other little cactus babies. Red sapphire right there. And you can see I have a ton of that quartz cactus and quartz rock all through here, which is really cool. Love this stuff. Super beautiful. And this big plant right here, go back, stand back. That is called a desert willow. That desert willow is gonna get maybe, I don't know, 15 feet tall, 10 to 15 feet tall. So that's gonna be pretty cool. It will shade this entire area. It'll get probably 10, 15 feet wide. And so that's, again, I'm just creating microclimates, right? I'm gonna add something that goes upright. It also doesn't like a lot of water. It's a desert plant, so it will handle that just fine. Back here, there are two mangaves. This one is Lavender Lady, so that will turn purple. It's been sitting in a more shady location, so it's a little on the green side. The one behind it is Mission to Mars. That will get huge. It's gonna get, 3-4 feet wide, maybe 2-3 feet tall. Eventually I'll have to kind of move it over because it'll be too big next to that foxtail, but the idea is it'll fill in that corner. And I had one of the blue globe babies here. Another very angry jade that's flopped over. That one sat for like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks because I was being lazy and I didn't come out and I didn't plant it. And so there you go. And this guy unfortunately sat in the sun. Really unhappy with me. It was not used to doing that, and so now it's very angry. But again, you look in the center. If the center is fine, then you're okay. It's totally fine. So this little guy will do okay. It just needs some time to recover. I think this is Falling Waters Mangave, but I can't remember. I bought a bunch of these like little baby mangaves, and now I can't remember what the names were because I didn't put this, either that or Aztec King. I don't know. Either way, it's going to get huge. So, these are just here until I can figure out what they are. This one is Coral Glow Cactus. I just put in. This is called Oh Wow. So this is going to be really cool. I'm going to have, just a ton of basically cactus blooms. Another very unhappy jade. And you can see some of this is Sun Stress. So you see this black stuff? I have actually never had a jade die from sun, at least in my area. I'm zone 9B. So, you know, so far it's been okay, but, you know, sometimes they do. It's okay. I'll plant something else in the place, but it should be all right. That is Pineapple Punch behind there. That is the same as the other one that you just saw that was super unhappy. So this one is handling it a little better. I think the Jade is helping to give it some shade, and so it's not getting as upset. And this is a Coral Aloe, which I just think is absolutely beautiful. I've got a couple of these in the yard and really, really like it. This actually might be the Falling Waters because it's got the ripple. I don't know. It's so hard to tell with Mangave when they're little. They all look alike. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what they end up being. But that is the new corner. So if I can, I will find another portion or another video where I can show you what the old area looked like, and then that will give you an idea of what this looked like. It took a couple of days, got a pretty bad sunburn out of the spending my time out here doing this, but you know, it's worth it. It looks really nice. Here's some more Jade. Again, I did the same thing as the bonsai effect, right? So you can see it's nice and airy. And this one I spent more time on, so it looks much nicer. You can see the base. So again, when you're bonsaiing jade, you just come up to a certain level, and then that lets you plant underneath and see how that light is coming in. But it's kind of perfect filtered light, so you can put things like Echeverias underneath there, and they will be able to handle it. And then all of the harsh sun, the jade takes the hit, which is much better. And the only thing that I've ever seen happen with these jades, when it gets super, super hot, most of the time they can handle it. They might get a little crispy on the ends, and then the ends kind of crisp and you know, they fall apart, but that's it. So it hasn't been, you know, I haven't had too much of a problem with that. So I use those as kind of like miniature trees in the yard to help to just break up the sunlight so that the littler plants underneath, they can handle it better. This one is my new baby. It's a Victoria Reginae, and I love it. It's an absolute stunner, and it has babies. So that's really cool. So once they get a little bit bigger, I'll probably pop those off. You can see I put some of my ruffle echeveria, which is towards the back there, and some of my softer plants. And again, the jade is just helping to protect that pot, right? And that's a baby foxtail agave, which you saw the big one, so you know that won't stay there very long, right? But it can grow, get better and bigger, and then eventually I'll move it to some other spot in the yard. Some more cactus. Don't know the names of those. I think Oh Wow is what those are. So, and there's actually a little baby one up right there. So eventually, hopefully, I will get, I think, if I remember, it was like a pinkish orange color to those when they bloom. But you kind of get the idea. I want more blooms in here. So I think this will be really, really cool. Adding some more colorful aloes in here. Another cactus. Fire Engine Red. This guy, I hate these tags, by the way. I'll come in and I'll put the little metal, cute metal ones in here because it'll look way better. And more of that quartz rock, which is super beautiful. There's an example of the metal tags I like. Pink Glory. So another cactus, and it looks like it's getting a little sunburned, but not too bad. This is an Aloe plicatillis behind it. And I got that when it was really tiny, really, really, really tiny. Oh, by the way, they always get this little tip burn on them, so that's not a big deal. Don't worry about that if you get something like that. But hopefully what you might be able to see is that it's bifurcated, so it actually has multiple heads now. I think there's 3 or 4 heads. So that's what this thing does. It almost turns into like a little mini tree. It's pretty cool. So it'll just keep growing like that. Let's see if I can go from this direction. You can see it a little better. You can see the multiple heads. So Aloe plicatilus, very, very, very cool. I actually had this in it was sitting on the other side of that Jade, right behind it, for a little while. Just because it was little, it was a baby, and this is one of my harsher areas it's hard to keep things alive out here just because it's so hot. So I had it sitting behind that Jade just to kind of give it some protection, but now that it's bigger, it can handle more. And then of course I have this desert museum tree, which you can see here to the right. And the desert museum tree is starting to provide some shade and getting bigger and bigger. Eventually this will get 20-30 feet wide, and it will shade, you know, almost this entire front area of the yard. So here's more of the, and then sorry, hopefully the shade, the camera is able to handle going back and forth between the sun and the shade. I am forgetting the name of this aloe, but it will actually get much bigger, and it looks like it's got like little ants all over it, which is a bummer. Yeah, it's not rooted yet. And then I think this is an echeveria. I can't remember. And I totally forgot that I had it out here. And so I found that and I was like, oh, that is so cool. It almost looks like an Aeonium, which is kind of weird. But I think it's an echeveria. I just cannot for the life of me remember what the name is. So if anybody can remember the name, you know, let me know, because I love it. And eventually I think I will start propagating that like crazy, because that is really cute. But I loved it, you know, kind of putting it in between these big rocks like this, and then giving it its, you know, little area to kind of pop out. Plus it protects the roots as it's rooting, and so I thought that'd be kind of cute. Another mangave. And this guy, you know, it's not happy. But again, they just don't like it when you move them. It's doing better. I think it's actually starting to root. Yeah, it's starting to root. So it will do better here a little bit. This quadricolor, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with this. You can see it's pupping, which I don't like. And it's getting big for the space. It kind of looks awkward if I step back. You can see it's a little big for the space, and so maybe I'll pull it out and I'll put the baby in, move it to some other part of the yard. I just don't like those because they tend to pop, and I just yanked out anything in the yard that pups like that with runners. I can't, you know, it's just too much maintenance. I'm just not going to deal with that. Here's some more. This area over here actually didn't touch this because this gets blasted by the sun from this direction, and I wanted those little plants over there to not have such a hard time, so that's why this was left like this. And here you can see what I mean. These poor little guys are just getting blasted because they're sitting in this spot where the sun hits them all the time. So I'm leaving this alone for now. So that's the weird thing, right? Certain parts of your garden bed you can move, other parts you can't. It just kind of depends. You can see some of the rocks I actually put upright in the design. It just gives visual interest, which is really cool. This is some more of the ruby slippers. These little ones are blooming. Aethonocapensis. I'm constantly yanking this out and thinning it out because it's semi-invasive, at least for my area. So Aloe Dorothiae, which is why it's super red. Weird. That thing has been sitting there for I think like 4 months or maybe 5 months, and it still hasn't rooted, so you know, go figure. This is another Jade that I brought, did the bonsai, or you know, to bring that up higher. And then eventually I'm going to have to thin this top out because it's starting to get thick again. But I wanted to be able to plant underneath it. Okay, go around on this side. And you can see I removed all of the stuff that was soft over here. That was just major high maintenance. This used to be Blushing Beauty, Aeoniums. Some of the little softer stuff like the Echeveria, you can see that one's super mad, right? Because of the heat. And so that's why it's under its friend, the Jade here. We're just going to give it a bunch of help. And then I've got a couple more cactus that I planted in here. This one's a Coral Glow. It'll get big blooms. These will be like, you know, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 8 inches across. So it'll be really cool when those go. And this one's called First Light. And it has a bloom that's coming. So I will provide an update as that starts to come out. Okay. And then there's another view of the new area. So gives you an idea. This is, you know, when you first start planting, you know, don't be surprised at, you know, how sparse it looks. This is normal, and these plants will grow very fast. So don't be worried about it and think, oh no, you know, I've got this my garden is going to look like this, and it looks like I just started it. This is very, very normal. Within, you know, a year or two, this will just be huge and overgrown, and I will be taking pieces off everything and basically, you know, passing it back. If you want to see an example, I literally, not kidding, just redid this maybe a year ago. Pulled all these plants out, and you can see it just goes crazy. So don't be concerned with these plants. Again, these guys, the reason they look like this, not so happy, not so healthy, is because they are dormant. Those are Aeoniums. And Aeoniums just look like this during the summertime, unfortunately. But very soon as it starts getting cooler, those will pop back open again, and then you won't even be able to see any of the stems. And right around that time, that's usually when I come through and I hack them apart. And then I propagate all of them. So again, you know, don't be worried if, you know, you've got areas of your yard that look overgrown, and then you've got areas of your yard that, you know, look like there's barely anything in them. That's just kind of normal. And each one of the planting beds, it's just different times of year that you can actually approach, you know, based upon what the sunlight's like, how much protection you can give them, all of that type of thing. Okay, so that's a little update of the front yard, little tour of the area, and I keep providing updates as I move through. I am definitely not done. I have all of that to take care of. Decide what I'm going to do up there. Definitely those Blushing Beauties will not stay in that condition. But I will, you know, eventually I'll pop something in there and we'll see. And knowing these Blushing Beauties, they're going to fill in that hole, even though they should be dormant right now. They won't. They'll actually fill that in. And we'll keep an eye on my little cutting garden here. So as per usual, if these videos are helpful for you, you know, like and subscribe, ask me questions. Love hearing from everybody around the globe. Oh, I forgot the big thing. I hit 20,000 subscribers. So wow, that's really awesome. Wasn't expecting that, and actually, I hit 20,000 subscribers, and then it was really funny because I feel like I blinked. Well, basically, I got COVID. And I ended up with 21,000 subscribers, so it's moving pretty quickly. So, you know, definitely reach out asking questions. There's a lot more people now, so I really enjoy that, and I love hearing from everybody around the globe. And I hope you are having a wonderful weekend wherever you are. Get out into the garden, have some fun, and I will catch you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.